of the Woman Thou Art Loose community. Let me start by saying thank you for stopping by the Driving Dreams virtual booth experience powered by Toyota and the Dream Project. On behalf of Toyota and the Dream Project, we welcome you to the virtual booth experience. And I even want to take a moment to say thank you to Toyota for your years of partnership, but in particular, your years of partnership with Bishop Jakes. Ladies, if you're here, Toyota and the Dream Project, we have one intention, and that is to drive your dream forward. Yep, your dream forward in the midst of change, in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of a year that we will never, ever forget, 2020, right? But your sister girls, we got you. We're going to show up, and it's just the nudge that you need to say, keep going in the face of roadblocks, in the face of change. And that's why I'm super excited about the conversation that I'm about to have with my friend, my sister of over 20 years. Now, I could brag on her all day, just telling you just what a beautiful, amazing person she is, but I want to read the credentials. So come with me. So let me tell you about my sister friend. She currently serves as the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer of the Recording Academy. As the co founder of Women in Entertainment Empowerment Network, she has also touched thousands of women across the nation. Prior to joining the Recording Academy, she served as the Global International Trade Administration in the Obama administration. She also worked at Google, where she served as head of inclusion for a number of years. And prior to all of this, she was also the executive vice president and executive director of Rush Communications Hip Hop Summit Action Network. In addition to that, she's worked as the National Director of Diversity and Inclusion at Alzheimer's Association. And just basically, she's bringing to the table years of business acumen. She has been featured in Forbes magazine, in Fast Company magazine, in Harper's Bazaar, Essence magazine, and so many more. A few of those shots, I just kind of like, oh my God, this is me, this is me. So, ladies, welcome, welcome, my friend and sister, Valeisha.
Hi, T.
Go me, go me.
It is so good.
Welcome.
It is so good to see you. You know how much I love you and respect you. And what T did not mention in her intro and bio for me is that she is the reason that my career began. You are. And the role that I had at Rush Communications and with the Hip Hop Summit Action Network, T was the one that said yes when almost everyone in my life at the time said no. And so, T, you opened that door, and it is because of you that I've had this, amazing journey of a career for the last 20 years. So I just want to say thank you.
Now, you weren't supposed to take me out before we got into the whole situation. But yes, V is one of my babies. And I it's one of those things where it was God ordained and talent knows talent. And when she walked into the office, I was simply obedient to say yes and give her a chance. So V, the first question, professionally, you have accomplished so much from your start at HBO Sports to your current role now of head of diversity at the Recording Academy. What are some of the detours that you have encountered in your dream journey, and how did you navigate the unexpected twists and turns? And so, the reason why we're going like straight in there is the context is we realize that thousands of the women that are zoning into this conversation, they have been hit with some unexpected twists and turns. So that's why we're starting here. Just in general, you've accomplished so much. I know you've had roadblocks. How did you navigate those roadblocks?
It's interesting because whenever you read the bio of an accomplished person, or, you see the headlines of someone that you admire, you normally always hear, the beauty of the journey. But I think we all know, and everyone watching has experienced that, there are twists and turns in life, no matter who you are. And I remember as a little girl growing up in Wilson, North Carolina, deep South, rural part of the state, in the 80s and 90s. experiencing, racism, sexism, misogyny, extreme poverty in the area that I grew up in, and still to this day, and just having this deep, burning desire to work in the music industry. And it was purely just because of my love of music at the time. I remember listening to music and it just felt like it sang to my heart. It felt like I came alive when I heard music in a very, sometimes hard environment. And I grew up with a lot of privilege, I should say, right? But around me, the environment that I was in, was just devastated by all the things I mentioned. And so, long story short, I had this dream to work in the music industry. And now to be able to, sit here today as the first Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer for the Recording Academy, home of the Grammys, is just a dream come true. But I can honestly say it has been hard,
Mhm.
really hard, right? I remember days when I was in New York for the first year, just pounding the pavement, doing what we do. I had my bachelor's degree, I had on my business suit, and I had all the things that I thought and that we were taught to have
Mhm.
as young women, entering the business. And every single door was slammed and said no, every single one. I mean, for months and months and months. And I was living on a friend's couch in Brooklyn, New York, with no windows, just barely any money in my pocket because my parents were like, if this is your dream, you got to go figure it out. And I
Mhm.
just remember, hearing no after no after no, and then asking God why. Like,
Mm.
what have I done wrong? What have I, not said or not done? Or what am I not doing to just land a job? All I wanted to do was work. I didn't want to hand out. I just wanted to hand up. And I can honestly say that it was in that moment, I'll never forget actually, in the moment of sitting in my friend's bathroom, tiny little bathroom in Brooklyn, looking in the mirror, asking God why. And I felt him say, I may have even heard him say, but I know for sure I felt him say, it's not about you, it's about us.
Oh, I just got chills.
And it was just, it changed the entire trajectory of my life in
Mm.
how I talked and how I moved and how I operated in life. And when it became about us and the empowerment of women and not just me, the world opened up.
Oh my goodness. So V, wait a minute. You coming out the gate just dropping like
Truth.
jewels. Okay, so women, a few things here. One, she said she heard a lot of no's. And V, this is a theme that we're hearing with
Yes.
so many of the iconic dreamers that I've been speaking with right here at Women Thou Art Loose, and then in general, other dreamers that I've interviewed. I want you to understand that V did not hear no and view that particular roadblock as a stop sign. Ladies, this is a trend. She still kept going. And she had the wisdom to pause and then seek God's counsel around the no's. And what
Mhm.
were those questions you said? What are you not doing? What were some of the
What have
questions?
what have I not done and
Mhm.
what am I not doing?
Okay. So if you're tuned in here and you've been hearing no's, number one, we want you to know that's not a stop sign. You still have to keep going. But I want to invite you to take a page out of Valeisha's book, her blueprint, and ask God and seek his counsel on why are you hearing the no's and how should you potentially maybe change your strategy or your approach. Now, this second thing you just talked about, girl, listen, listen. When she says it's about us, we tell people all the time at the Dream Project that when you truly get that the dream is not about you, that you're a vessel, and
Yes.
that there's someone really waiting on you in that dream, that's a why that will keep you grounded for the long term.
Rest of your life, for the rest of your life.
Now, how has that, once you heard this is not about you, but this is about us, can you kind of take us through how did you hold on to that grounding, knowing that the dream was bigger than you? And how did God sort of show up and have the dream evolve over time being about us?
I'll break it all the way down for you and everyone watching. It in a very practical way. For me, it was an immediate pivot that just when you shift your thinking from I to we, from me to we, right? From I to us. When you make that shift, and it's a choice, right? You can decide today, God is no longer about me. God, use me. God, use me as a vessel, as Tanisha just said. And when you make that choice, it alters everything in your life from the words you speak, right? So, for example, at the time I would go into interviews and say, I graduated from Clark Atlanta University. I would be great for this position because of XYZ. You should hire me because I bring all of these things to the table. And immediately it was like a light switch. It shifted to, here's how I can support your bottom line. These are the things that I think we can build together through collaboration, right? As I looked at as I researched your organization and the opportunities that are here, here's how I think we could scale this work in support of the community that we represent. And it became about we, even through the words that I spoke and used. And I'm telling you, T, it went from a series of no's for 9 months or more to a series of yeses that have never stopped. And from the language we speak, from the moves we make, and the decisions in our life, when they are grounded then and become about we, it literally opens you up to endless possibility. And so it sounds pie in the sky, but I'm telling you, it works. Like it really is fundamentally a shift that can change and alter the new rooms that you'll enter.
So on that one, V, which again, ooh, I knew when we got together, I was gonna get
Very good.
which that particular nugget, I actually needed to hear that right now for another reason. But when what I just heard you say for all the women that are listening, what Valeisha is talking about is a servant's mindset. So when you have a servant's mindset, you are approaching, whether it's an employer, whether it's a consumer, if you started your own business, you're approaching your partners and you're approaching life from a place of what can I do for you? How can I serve you? Versus what can you do for me? Come on, I
But
feel
I
you.
got to add to that, T, because
Mhm.
I there was a time that my servant mindset made me operate from a place of servitude, and that's not what a servant mindset is.
Clarify.
Okay, so a servant mindset means you serve God, you serve Him for the greater good of we, right? But a servitude mindset means you default into helping everybody, supporting everyone, becoming the person that everyone's like foot is on their neck in terms of your family, your life, your friends, and even your employer. And you don't want to be of servitude to
Mm.
around you.
You gotta
You want
break that. You gotta break it down again because, honey, I'm about to grab my notebook.
okay.
So the
So here's
servant
the difference.
mindset, you serve God, and
Correct.
because you're serving God, then you're showing up in that co-creating relationship,
Yes.
serving others.
But don't confuse that with being of service to everyone.
Mm.
That's different because then you'll get burnt out. Then you'll get used up, right? And so it is important to understand that when you're serving God, you now understand the power source by which you do the work in support of others.
Mm.
Is that
And how that's okay. We got to double click on that because number one, ladies, I want to make sure you get the power of a servant mindset. So that's a fundamental shift. I know when
yes,
I have people coming in my room or when we're pitching business, right? Say when we're pitching business, when you started using the language of here's how we would build your bottom line.
correct.
Here's how I can support our goals in scaling, right? That's a distinction that I can clearly see
Mhm.
whether I'm pitching new business or someone's pitching me for an idea. The servant's mindset is a distinction that we want to make sure you get. but I want to double click down on the difference of these two.
Mhm.
And V, the reason why is because I think as women,
Mhm.
there is a serve, 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 serve that you might wake up and your cup is absolutely empty. And so I want you to, what part of life taught you that? How did you determine the difference between
I'll tell you
servant
this.
mindset here and then burning out?
When I became a wife, a mom, while being a businesswoman,
Okay.
right? Taught me everything, right? Because there was a time when my instinct was to say yes, just say yes to everything. So that included being at work by 8 a.m., doing what we do, which is show up strong every single day as women, right? And then rushing from work home to pick my son up for basketball practice, getting him over to basketball practice while he's in practice, going to get the laundry, making sure we have food on the table when we get home, picking up the cleaners, doing all the things, and just loading up my day because I was in a space of saying yes.
Mhm.
That is servitude. That's not where you want to be, in my opinion.
Okay.
A servant mindset means I understand that my power, that my position, that everything about my life comes from God. And so now I can use that to decide when and where to say yes,
Mm.
right? So the answer may be I'm going to be able to show up for work during these hours, setting healthy boundaries, and I will be responsible on Tuesdays and Thursdays for getting our babies to basketball practice. And then on those other days, I'll cook. But then thinking about, how to make those other pieces happen without it being your physical labor, if you can.
Mhm.
Does
That
that
is,
make sense?
yes, that wisdom alone, because I would venture to say that there are women here globally that we're in a season now. There are many moms, they didn't ask to become teachers, right? They
Yes.
all of a sudden you went from being a full-time executive, you're working, you're teaching, and if you decided to keep your children home to teach in a virtual environment, you became the teacher. You got to wear the hat of wife. And so I feel like this nugget alone is so big, V, because you're freeing women of saying it's okay to say no.
And before we move on from that point, it's not about money either, right? We all don't have the financial means to pay for all of those services. Some do, some don't, right? But it does mean like being really clear and moving with intention around your yes. And
Mhm.
then being creative about the things that you cannot do. And so that may mean your friend village and your sister village, where it's like, okay, I have a group of sisters here in LA, friend sisters who, on certain Saturdays, I'll take all the kids and y'all go get your nails done, get your hair done, have a great time, right? And the kids are at my house. And then on those other days, my kids may go to their house and then I get a break. And so it's about being resourceful and creative in the solutions once you decide these are the things that you can absolutely no longer take on.
Did you feel guilty about the
Yes,
no's?
yes, yes. Until I found smart solutions,
Mhm.
right? And so at first, a no can make you carry a lot of guilt because you feel like you're letting people down. But when you actually find the right solution, right? So in the example of my kids and our kids, at the end of the day, my kids have more fun when they visit their friends sometimes. And so now the guilt was reduced because now I know not only are they safe and in good hands, they're actually having a good time. And so
Mhm.
they needed that break too.
Mm. Oh my goodness. I had no idea that we were going to go there, but that's enough, ladies, that if you didn't take anything else, powerful principles. Number one, servant mindset. There's a difference between a servant mindset and servitude. We also heard her freedom around being okay with saying no and getting her direction from God and not over serving to the point where you're on E.
That's it.
And then, ladies, if you have to put those healthy boundaries up and start saying no, she eventually released herself of the guilt of the no. And I love that nugget of you also found creative solutions. So, oh, all right. So let me keep it moving because I didn't know. I didn't know we was gonna go that deep. Um, so I got two more that we'll dive into. Number one, so V, I am of the belief that every dreamer at some point, at a stage in their journey when they're going towards their dream, they are a willing yes to a concept that I talk a lot about entitled the stretch.
Mhm.
And so you'll get this vision, you'll get this call, and typically that call is outside of your comfort zone. It's outside of the zip code of your comfort zone. But you have to be trusting and you have to be willing to travel into unknown territory and be obedient to God's call. And that stretch expands us into who we're destined to be. Can you share with some of the dreamers across the globe examples of when you've been called to stretch?
Every step of my life, I've been called to stretch because I set such a low bar for myself as a young girl. Right? The reality is that, when I was growing up, I dealt with a lot of insecurities, didn't, really know if I was smart enough to do certain things or capable enough to do certain things. And I think we all, may feel some of those insecurities and doubts to this day. But when I was a little girl, it definitely felt and was real for me. And so, I set a really low bar around, what I could do in life. And I always said to myself, well, maybe I'll do this or maybe I'll do that. And I never really set a high enough bar based on my potential, but instead based on the perception of who I thought I was.
Oh,
Right. And so I'll never forget at 18 years old, moving to Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a freshman at Clark Atlanta University. And, watching my friends around me having big dreams. I mean, like, I want to be the CEO of a company one day. And I plan to be, the first Black woman on the Supreme Court, and just bigger than life dreams. And I was embarrassed at that time to share my truth because I realized then, like, wow, I'm surrounded by greatness, and I've set such a low bar. And so what I would say to anyone watching here is that, I would guess that whatever your dream is today, you've probably set the bar too low.
mm,
Period. Right? And so if you can take a minute right now and just imagine what the little girl in you saw for you, right? What the little girl in you maybe felt was possible for you, and then 10x whatever that dream is and raise your bar.
mm.
Right. And so I think honestly, and I have no regrets, I really believe that, God has written this all and everything is for a reason. But I do believe also that, if I'd set my bar higher as a young girl, if I had the confidence to, I would even be out the stratosphere in terms of growth right now. And so, I say take a minute to raise your bar today,
Oh,
if you can,
oh,
and watch these dreams just accelerate, because I think we're taking baby steps. COVID, and everything that's happening in the world has shown us that life is short. Tomorrow's not promised. And so go big and go bigger. And by bigger, I don't mean with power and money, I mean with purpose.
mhm, mm. Oh, V, don't make me fall out of the chair. Shout on the good YouTube Bishop Village. Oh my goodness.
It's the
So,
truth.
okay. So wait a minute. So one thing, that nugget of you said your dream was in a direct correlation against the way that you perceived yourself.
Correct.
So
Instead of my actual potential, it was not based on my actual potential.
mm, it was based on perception.
Correct.
So if you didn't take anything from Valeisha Butterfield Jones, I was about to say Butterfield, but that's who I know, but Jones, the fact that she said, take a moment to raise your bar.
Today. Today.
And iron sharpens iron, V. I'm telling you, you're speaking, ladies, we're all in this together. There's not a single woman. I don't care if you've accomplished and you're at this conference. V
Mhm.
is speaking to you. Take a moment to raise the bar. I'm going to take you up on the challenge. Take a moment to raise the bar. Take the limits off. Oh, that was so good. Okay, so V, I know you just went into the social unrest and COVID-19. I want to know, how has the current state of affairs in the country impacted you in pursuit of the dreams that you're working on right now?
To be honest with you, with the racial reckoning that's happening in the world and in our country, and with the pandemic, it has just turbo boosted my dreams. And I think that, it's one of those things that, on the days that I feel the sadness and the heaviness of what we're all feeling and experiencing right now, are also the days that I realize just how truly powerful and resilient and strong we are. And so, it's in the sorrow, in the sadness, finding your why,
Hmm.
right? And remembering your why and honoring your why and taking a bolder, bigger, faster step into your why. And so for me, my why is the empowerment of women, period.
Hmm.
Period. And so because I'm clear on that, like I know that that is what I want my life's mission and purpose to be. When I'm laid to rest, I want it to be said that, she was a good woman who loved her family and believed in and empowered women, period. And if that could be my legacy, and I'm clear that that's what I desire, and wake up every day to do, then like where we are right now is like, oh my gosh, what better time than now to go bolder into, the purpose of my life. And so I think, for me, it's, on the darkest days that we all feel, remembering your why, again, honoring your why, but then taking the action, right? There's not a day that goes by, even when I feel like I don't want to get out of bed, that I don't take another step, because I feel like life is just so short. And, I just don't want to waste a single drop of talent that God's given me on this planet.
Oh, woo. So, ladies, listen, I hope y'all going back and replaying this one, because I totally am going back, V, and I'm going with my notebook and replaying. But what is just amazing to watch and listen to, V, is how clear you are on your why.
Mm.
Empowering women, period. How clear you are on what you want your legacy to be. So I would invite all of the women that are here with us now. Have you pondered your why? Are you clear about your why? And are you even clear about what you want your legacy to be when you exit the world? And V, I think it's that clarity that you have that has you creating these extraordinary results in the world, whether it's at Google and the Recording Academy and Women Empowerment Network. I mean, I'm always fascinated because every time I look at you, I already know she's going to go to yet another level. And
Mm.
I've been watching in this pandemic, where many of us was silent. We went offline. We're like, what's going on? I want you guys to go to Valeisha Butterfield's IG channel right now and friend her. You got to tell them what your handle is. V, what's your handle?
It's my first name at Valeisha, Valeisha.
I want you to go to her handle, and I want you to go all the way back to March 2020 when this pandemic started. And you know your friend. You know I don't be out there like that. But anyway, I just was so proud of you because I could feel that you were taking the painful moment that the world was in, and something was charging you to say, I'm going to go bolder, I'm going to go bigger. You guys, she started teaching courses. She started bringing her sister friends in to say, let's sister up. We got to push through this pandemic. I even noticed that the other night when we witnessed the verdict that came back around Breonna Taylor's verdict, when no one was found guilty and our hearts were breaking, it was a matter of days. You pulled a prayer together.
Next night. Next night.
Yeah. So
For
I
almost
see you.
1,000 women. Thank
And
you.
you are operating in this moment and going so deep to show up so powerfully in the world. So, ladies, what I'm hearing from V is she's taking the pain and she's channeling it into purpose. She's so grounded in her why that in the midst of the change is fueling her more. So, V, as we wind down, if there was some final nuggets, wisdom, advice you want to give these sisters around how they should drive their dream forward and even why they should drive their dream forward, what would that be?
I think the best advice that I can give is one that I live by every single day, and that's that God is not the author of confusion. And so, whenever you feel like, the world is full of chaos, even if your job, wherever you work feels like a lot of chaos and it's toxic, or even the relationship maybe that you're in, just remember that, in that chaos, in that storm, you can bring order to that by the decisions that you make. And so for me, I really believe that I'm able to thrive right now during a pandemic, during a racial reckoning in the world, because I knew my why, which
Mhm.
is the empowerment of women. And then I put order and structure around how I wanted to do that. And in this case, to T's point, that was through a series of webinars and master classes that just brought together women. The first one had around 50 people. Now over 40,000 women have participated in 5 months. And so that, I hope, is an example of how there are tools and ways that in the chaos, in the confusion, if you know your why, you can build right systems and ways to like put like a wrapper around the things that you want to get done. And so, my prayer is that through this conversation, you either have found your why or you're getting a little bit closer to knowing your why, and through that, you feel empowered to live this life fully, right? When
Mhm.
I leave this earth, I want to be fully depleted of all of my gifts and ready to transition to whatever's next, right?
Mhm.
And so, make sure that you just leave no gift left,
Mm.
right? When you leave this earth.
No gift left behind.
Nope.
No, and I can tell you're not gonna leave a single ounce
Letting
on
it
this
all
earth.
go. Just take it all.
You're getting it all out. Oh, all right. So V, what's next for you? Because I want to make sure that we're praying for you. We're surrounding you. What's next? How can we stand with you in support of where God is taking you next?
Thank you, T, for even asking. I think the first is just continued prayer for good health and happiness in my family. I feel so blessed to be in a loving home.
Mhm.
And we know, right, that doesn't always happen. And so I feel really blessed to be in a loving home. I can't imagine in a pandemic being surrounded by, anything else. And so I feel so blessed to have that. Our 2-year-old and I had COVID a few weeks back, and we are back healthy and fully recovered. But I think that continued prayer for good health and happiness in our family, I will receive fully. And I send that same love and prayer back to you. And then just continue to support, the work that I'm doing. I'm out here grinding. I'm working hard. I'm like, trying to just figure out, I guess the prayer I ask for professionally is to try to figure out how to scale. I really want to touch and reach as many women as I possibly can, through the work that I do. And so, prayer that I can think through, those solutions to scale the work, because I know there's so much that I have to offer, so many more women, and so that prayer would be received.
Well, we will be praying for your good health, and we will be praying that God reveals to you the systems and the strategies and the infrastructure that you will need as He elevates you into your new season. So you over delivered, girlfriend. You when you say no gift left behind, you came here and you didn't leave anything behind. Women, she gave it everything she had in these 30 minutes. It's been divine. You've blessed us. And ladies, if you enjoyed this content, number one, I'm going to tell you, you need to go back and you need to play this session again.
I'm gonna play it back because I learned some things from T too. So
And then number two, we want you to hang out in the Driving Dreams virtual booth. There are other dreamer warrior fireside chats with Pastor Sarah, Pastor Cora, Arian Simone. Soak up the wisdom. Make sure you check out our master class that is in Bishop's Village. It's all around speaking with fellow dreamers on how to navigate during difficult times. We have fun resources for you here in this virtual booth. So download them, interact with them. All of them are inspirational tools. And last but not least, there is a Toyota Dream Warrior quiz that we want to invite all of you to take. You're going to learn something about Toyota and you're going to learn something about your Dream Warrior style. So you can see Visa Dream Warrior. She won't stop, right? You're warrior. Well, we want to have you walk away with knowing something about your warrior style. Now, when you take this quiz and you share your results and you use hashtag Toyota Drives Dreams, you will be entered to win a chance for a gift. We're giving away gifts every hour over the next 3 days of this conference. And here's the good, juicy part. For the first 100 ladies that will take this Toyota Dream Warrior quiz, you can get an autographed copy of Bishop Jake's new book, When Women Pray. So I've already told you guys over and over, I'm taking the quiz because I want my signed copy of the book. But you guys take it too, and maybe we can both show our signed copy of the book. But you gotta make sure you share the results and do hashtag Toyota Drives Dreams. As we wind down, I want to say to the Woman Thou Art Loose community, thank you for coming to this virtual experience. You are worthy, you are deserving, and what you have heard from V, we want you to level up that dream. We want you to get clear about your why. We want you to make sure that you leave no gift behind. To our partners at Toyota, thank you. Thank you for a 4-year partnership with not only Dream Project, but with Bishop Jakes and his platforms. Thank you for serving the multicultural community, and thank you for your commitment to drive dreams forward and to make sure that we can go to the places we imagine and to make sure that we all, your word, we all reach our destination dream. Thank you.